6 months ago, I discovered my soon-to-be ex-wife's affair. The shock, the gut-wrenching sorrow, it consumed me. I never confronted her directly, but my misery was obvious. She had to know I was onto her, yet she never said a word. Maybe she just didn't care. 2 months back, something in me snapped. The pain dulled into apathy. I shut down, avoided her, barely spoke. When I did, my answers were clipped, cold. I left the divorce lawyer's bills out in plain sight. No subtlety, no pretending. Even the kids noticed. Sitting them down, I kept it gentle. Your mom and I love you, but sometimes things don't work out. She sat there, silent. That silence said everything. Then, just days ago, I ran into Lauren, someone I hadn't seen in years. We had history, an undeniable pull that never went anywhere. Before I could act on it, she moved away, leaving me with nothing but what-ifs. But now, there she was, standing in front of me like no time had passed. Conversation flowed effortlessly, like we'd just spoken yesterday. Then she asked, "You seeing anyone special?" I hesitated before answering. "It's complicated." "Complicated how?" "I'm married, technically, but it's over. Just not on paper yet." She studied me for a moment before nodding. "I appreciate the honesty." "I won't date anyone until I'm officially single," I told her. "Not about to cheat." Her smile warmed. "I respect that." She scribbled her number onto a scrap of paper, handed it to me. Our fingers brushed, a small but electric moment. "Never married myself," she added, her voice soft. "Guess I never found the right guy." As I walked away, clarity hit me like a freight train. Running into Lauren was the final push I needed to end this limbo. For the first time in months, I felt happy. That night, I waited for my wife, grinning like a fool. When she walked in, I gestured to the chair across from me. "We need to talk." She eyed me warily but sat down. "What now?" "I've known about your affair for months," I said, watching her flinch. "Figured you knew I knew. I checked out 3 months ago, and you didn't even care. And now, I don't care either." Her fingers tightened in her lap. "I'm ready to move on," I continued. "It's time we get divorced." I expected indifference, maybe relief. Instead, she shattered. Not just tears, full body, racking sobs. Desperate. Broken. "Please, Ethan, it meant nothing. A mistake. We can fix this, go to counseling, anything. Just, please." I stared at her, stunned. "Are you serious?" She grabbed my arm, her grip tight, pleading. "I love you. I don't want to lose our family. I don't want to lose you." I pulled away, shaking my head. "Then why?" My voice was eerily calm. "If it meant nothing, if you didn't want to lose me, why do it?" She collapsed into incoherent apologies. And me. I felt nothing. Just a deep, quiet exhaustion. "If you wanted to fix things," I told her, voice steady, "that time was 7 months ago. Before the affair. Now, it's too late. It's broken." Tears streamed down her face as she shook her head. "No, Ethan, please. We can fix this." But we couldn't. And we wouldn't. I cut her off. "I didn't think anything was wrong," I said, my voice flat. "You never talk to me, and I'm not a mind reader. Whatever was bothering you, I had no clue. But you clearly saw some huge problem, big enough to go looking for someone else." She flinched like I'd hit her. I leaned in. "So tell me, what was it? What was missing? What was so bad you couldn't even try talking to me?" "That cheating was the better choice." She opened her mouth but only managed a strangled sob. I shook my head. "Must have been serious, huh? Serious enough to gamble everything away. Our marriage, our family." I let that sink in before adding, "Because make no mistake, you did this. You made that choice. She crumpled, face in her hands. I wasn't thinking. I was so stupid. So selfish. You got that right, I said coldly. Her head snapped up, eyes desperate. But I never stopped loving you. I let out a short, humorless laugh. Don't even say that. Love doesn't work like this. Someone who loves you doesn't put you through this kind of agony. I exhaled slowly. Say it all you want, but your actions scream otherwise. She started rambling, excuses, apologies, all blending into useless noise. I rubbed my temples, patience gone. This is pointless. I stood. I'm calling your sister. She didn't fight it, just sat there, sobbing uncontrollably. I stepped into the hall, dialed her sister, and she picked up on the second ring. Ethan. Hey. I need you to come over. Now. What's going on? I told her it's over. She's a wreck. I need you to take her somewhere safe. Silence. Then, I'll be there in 15. She arrived fast. I gave her the short version, and she didn't look surprised, just tired. She helped my wife, my soon-to-be ex, off the couch, murmuring reassurances as she led her out the door. And just like that, they were gone. For the first time in 7 months, I took a full, deep breath. I don't know what I'm searching for here. Validation, closure, someone to tell me I'm not crazy for feeling this way. But one thing is clear. She knew this was coming. She had to. No one is that blind, that reckless. She's smart, beautiful even, and until she threw it all away, we had a damn good marriage. But that's in the past. I've accepted that. So why this act now? Why the sudden desperation? There has to be an angle. Fear of losing alimony? Maybe she's terrified I'll tell her lover's wife? That would explain the theatrics. But the more I think about it, the more I realize I'm wasting energy on her when I need to focus on what actually matters. I grab a stack of papers and start making lists. The kids. Seeing her from now on. The marriage wreckage. Lauren. Questions I still need to ask. I underline the kids twice. They are priority number 1. No matter what happens between their mother and me, they will not pay the price. Therapy, family sessions, whatever it takes. I'll make sure they're surrounded by love and support. I pick up the phone and call my sister. Hey, Ethan, she answers cautiously, knowing I'm walking a tightrope. Hey, I need a favor. I want the kids wrapped in as much love as possible. More time with family, more stability. Can you and Mom help? Of course, she says instantly. We're here for them, and for you. I exhale, a small weight lifting. Thanks. I'm also reaching out to their teachers, their coaches. I want them to have a solid support system. Smart move, she says. And Ethan, you holding up okay? I hesitate. I'm managing. She doesn't push, and we hang up. My eyes land on the next note. DNA testing. My stomach twists. I've already gotten checked for STIs, wasn't about to take chances there, but this is something else. I need to know. Not just for me, but for them. If they're not biologically mine, they deserve the truth. I go online, book the test, then just stare at the confirmation email. What if they aren't mine? Would I still see myself as their father? Of course. But would they want to find their biological dad one day? Would they see me differently? I swallow hard. There's no turning back now. I need to know. Hoping against hope. But until I see the results, it's like a weight crushing my chest, one I can't shake. Before saying a word to the kids, I met with their therapists. I needed professional advice. How to break the news, answer their questions, and reassure them they were safe and loved despite everything falling apart. Once I had a solid plan, we gathered as a family. I took a deep breath, looking at them. My whole world. Their little faces were clouded with confusion and fear. I had to be their rock. Guys, we need to talk, I said calmly. I know things have been tough, and you probably have a lot of questions. But I want you to know, no matter what, I will always be your dad. I love you more than words can say, and that will never change. They were silent, absorbing every word. Then Emily, her voice barely a whisper, asked, "Are you and Mom getting a divorce?" I swallowed hard. "Yes, sweetie." Noah, staring at his lap, mumbled, "So, what happens to us?" I leaned in. "Nothing changes in how much I love you. We'll figure everything else out together." They nodded, but I could still see the hurt. I wished I could take it away, undo it all, but I couldn't. All I could do was be there. That night, alone at my desk, I stared at the word marriage on the divorce papers. Deep down, I already knew the answer. I couldn't trust her again. And without trust, love couldn't exist. It wasn't a sudden realization, but a slow, inevitable truth creeping up on me for months. The love I once felt, so deep, so defining, was gone. She had killed it. Maybe, in another reality, I could have tried to love her again. But the honest truth? I didn't want to. I had no desire to salvage something so broken. It was easier, better, to walk away and rebuild from scratch. As for Lauren, jumping into something new wasn't wise. My life was a mess, and dragging her into it wouldn't be fair. When I told her that, she disagreed. "Life is messy, Ethan. Might as well face it together." She had a point. But I wasn't ready. During that call, I learned why she had never married. 5 years ago, she was engaged. Then her fiancé died in a work accident. It shattered her. She dated here and there, but nothing ever clicked. To her, life was too short to play it safe. If something real came along, she believed in grabbing it with both hands. I understood. But I told her, I don't want it to even look like I'm cheating, not even technically. She respected that. We agreed, we'd wait until my divorce was final before we considered us. But even just talking to her felt like standing on the edge of something dangerous. If I wanted to do this the right way, I needed distance. So, I focused on what was ahead, facing my wife. I wrote down a set of rules for myself. I would stay calm, be civil, and not sink to cruelty. This wasn't about rehashing old wounds. It was about moving forward. Most of all, I would prioritize co-parenting. Still, I had questions. Why did she do it? What was her plan now? But I wouldn't be manipulative. I wouldn't dangle false hope or play games. I would split everything fairly, 50-50. Yes, I hated her for what she did. But I couldn't erase the good times, the love we once had. Holding on to anger would only destroy me. At some point, I'd have to forgive her. Not for her, but for myself. Up until her affair, I truly believed we had a good marriage. We were intimate every day, spent quality time together, rarely fought. I thought we were both fully committed. But looking back, that belief was a lie. When Saturday came, I went to meet her at her sister's house. Her sister had warned me, she was in bad shape. And she wasn't exaggerating. The woman sitting on that couch was almost unrecognizable. Bloodshot eyes, a swollen face from days of crying, unkempt hair. She looked hollow, as if she had imploded in on herself. She was shaking. I sat down and waited for her to speak. The strangest thing? I felt calm. I could see her pain, but I didn't feel it, not in the way a husband should. It was like watching a sad movie, emotionally engaging, but distant. And in that moment, it hit me with absolute certainty. I didn't love her anymore. She tried to speak, but every attempt crumbled into another wave of gut-wrenching sobs. I sat there, stone-faced, watching. Her sister sat beside her, tears streaming, throwing bitter remarks under her breath. Clearly, she had seen this train wreck coming and had tried to warn her. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, my wife forced out words. "Oh, Ethan, I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I can't even begin to tell you how much I regret this." I said nothing. She kept apologizing, but not once did she try to shift the blame or justify her actions. I'd braced for excuses, but there were none. Her sister wiped her face and turned to me, eyes burning. "I told her, Ethan," she said bitterly. "Told her exactly how this would end, but she wouldn't listen." I frowned. "Told her what?" "That she was going to lose everything." She shook her head. "Believe me, I know. It's how I lost my own fiancé." That hit like a ton of bricks. I had no idea her sister had been unfaithful too. My wife let out another choked sob. "That's when I started thinking about it," she admitted, voice trembling. "Wondering what it would be like, if I could have an affair and still keep my life the same." My stomach twisted. "So this wasn't random? You thought about this beforehand?" "No. Not like that," she cried. After what happened to her, I started wondering. And then I met him." Her face crumbled. "I swear, Ethan, I never meant for this to happen." I clenched my jaw. "You couldn't help yourself?" She nodded miserably. "I kept telling myself it was just a fling, that it wouldn't mean anything. I never thought you'd find out. Never thought anyone would get hurt." My fists tightened. "You seriously thought I wouldn't find out?" A broken laugh escaped her. "But Ethan, I was happy," she whispered, as if that justified it. "I was happy with you, with our life. I convinced myself I deserved this little excitement. I even thought if you knew how happy it made me, you'd understand." She had built a fantasy in her mind, convinced she could have this affair and still keep her family. It wasn't until I started pulling away that she even suspected something was wrong. "I thought everything was fine," she whispered. I let out a cold chuckle. "Fine? You actually believed that?" She wiped at her face with trembling hands. "I kept thinking it was just a phase. That once it was over, nothing would change. That we'd be okay." Then she claimed she had ended things a month and a half ago. As proof, she shoved her phone into my hands, insisting she'd blocked his number. I took it, steady despite the storm inside me. The second I hit unblock, a flood of messages poured in, desperate, pleading, angry. I looked up at her, my stare cold. She flinched. "Guess he didn't get your memo," I muttered, scrolling through the unread messages. She swallowed hard. "Ethan, I wanted to fix things with you. I've been trying. I thought if you could see how much I love you, we could find our way back." I shook my head. "You actually thought we'd come out of this stronger?" She hesitated, then gave a small nod. "Yes," she whispered. I leaned in, my voice dropping lower. "And that night in the living room, when I told you I knew everything, what did you see in my eyes?" Her lip trembled. The floodgates opened again. I saw that it was over. That I had destroyed everything." I exhaled slowly, sitting back. "Then tell me, if you knew it was over, why are we still sitting here?" She twisted her hands together. "Because I have to try, Ethan. I have to fight for us, for our family. I can't give up without trying." I closed my eyes, forcing myself to stay calm. Then I asked the one question that had tormented me from the moment I found out. "Tell me honestly, what went through your mind? What logic made you think you had the right to do this? To me, to our children." She sobbed harder, shaking her head. "I don't know. I don't know." I cut her off, my voice sharp. "Bull. People don't just wake up and decide to blow up their family for no reason." Her mouth opened, but no words came. Just silent, desperate pleading in her tear-filled eyes. And that's when it truly hit me. There were no answers. No explanation could ever justify this. Nothing would ever make sense of it. I exhaled, my anger fading into something colder, Emptiness. You know what? It doesn't even matter anymore. Nothing you say will ever make this okay. She completely crumbled, convulsing with sobs. But I felt nothing. Not anger, not sympathy, just nothing. I think I finally got my closure, I said, more to myself than her. She looked up, lips trembling. I know, Ethan. And I will never, ever forgive myself. I gave a slow nod. Good. My voice was flat, final. Because this is all on you. You destroyed our marriage. You broke our family. And our children. They will grow up in a broken home. Because of you. She flinched, like I had struck her. But I didn't care. She needed to hear the truth. She needed to face the reality of what she had done. She reached for me, hands trembling. Please, Ethan, just give me one more chance, she begged. I'll do anything. For the first time, the full weight of what she'd done hit me, not just to our marriage, but to how I saw her as a person. I don't believe you, I said flatly. I don't think I believe a single word you say anymore. She pleaded, desperate for a way to fix things, as if some magic formula could undo it all. You're the one who broke it, I said. If you don't even know how do you expect me to give you the solution? She swallowed hard. Ethan, please, just tell me what to do. I shook my head. Put yourself in my shoes. If you were standing where I am right now, looking at you, what would you say? Her hands twisted together, searching for an answer that didn't exist. We circled the same arguments over and over. Finally, she exhaled shakily and admitted, if things were flipped, I don't think I could forgive something like this either. I nodded. Then you finally get it. I told her I'd already gotten tested for STIs and was set on getting a DNA test for the kids. The moment I said it, she shattered. She collapsed into sobs that racked her body, crying for 20 minutes straight. I just watched, detached, like I was witnessing a scene in a movie. When she finally pulled herself together, she looked up, eyes swollen. Ethan, I swear, this was the only time. I've never done anything like this before. I crossed my arms. Why should I believe that? She faltered, searching for words, but there was nothing she could say. After more back and forth, she finally whispered, I guess you don't have any reason to believe me. If I were you, I wouldn't either. I moved on. Does his wife know? She shook her head, shame radiating off her. I sighed. She deserves to. She swallowed. Yeah, I know. So, are you telling her, or am I? Her lip trembled. Ethan, if I tell her, if I go to HR first thing tomorrow, confess everything, would you even consider counseling? Just something. I didn't hesitate. No. She flinched like I'd struck her. I kept my voice even. But taking responsibility. That might help you regain a shred of respect. Her shoulders slumped. Okay, she whispered. I'll tell her. I'll tell everyone. I exhaled, rubbing my face. Honestly? I don't even believe you. She reached for me again, her voice breaking. I swear, I will never, ever be with another soul again. And I'll never stop trying to win you back. I knew she wasn't being honest. Not really. But I was too exhausted to argue. The conversation kept circling the same dead-end road. Then, she made an offer so absurd it turned my stomach. What if we tried a one-sided open marriage? She blurted. You could see whoever you wanted. I'd stay completely faithful. You'd have access to all my communication. 24/7, anything you want. Just, please don't leave me. I stared at her, trying to process the sheer desperation of it. Finally, I said, I already talked to Lauren, remember? And yeah, I'm waiting for something. She blinked. Waiting for what? I sighed. For the divorce to be final. Unlike you, I don't want to cheat on anyone. And no, I don't want to be in some twisted, open relationship. That would hurt her. Lauren. And I'm done with hurting people. Tears welled up in her eyes again, but I wasn't done. Besides, I don't want to be your jailer. Constantly snooping, waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's not a relationship. And meaningless intimacy? If all I wanted was physical release, I can handle that myself. We were drained, emotionally and physically. This conversation had dragged on for over 5 hours. She'd been crying almost non-stop, sometimes quiet sobs, sometimes full body, heaving weeping. Her face was blotchy and swollen, voice raw. But there was nothing left to say. I looked at her, voice steady. The love I used to feel for you? It's gone. And looking at you now, I don't even recognize you. Our family, our marriage, it all died by your own hand. She shook her head violently, tears spilling. No, Ethan, you can't say that. But it's the truth. I cut her off. And you can't undo what you've done. The only way to avoid this would have been to not start the affair in the first place. But you did. And this is the consequence. She sobbed harder, clutching her arms as if holding herself together. I sighed, feeling the crushing weight of it all. We need to go no contact for a while. We need space. Perspective. She didn't respond. I already filed for divorce, I added. And just so we're clear, my mind is made up. This is over. Her entire frame locked up, rigid with tension. Ethan, please, please, she choked out, one last desperate plea. The only path forward is co-parenting, plain and simple, I said, firm. For the kid's sake, I'll agree to family counseling if therapists think it'll help. But beyond that, I can't even stand to look at you. That shattered her. She collapsed inward, sobbing, gasping for air. No, 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 she repeated, like she could will it into untruth. Her hands flew to her face as she swayed unsteadily on the couch. Then blood gushed from her nose. A sharp, panicked gasp escaped her lips as she reached for me before her knees buckled completely. Instinct took over. I lunged, catching her just before she hit the floor. Her sister's scream pierced the air. Oh my God, Ethan, help her. No time to think, only act. I scooped her up, carried her to the car, and raced to the ER. The drive was a blur, silence punctuated by her sister's muffled sobs. My wife lay limp in the back seat, pale as death. Hours passed before doctors assured me she was stable. By morning, word had spread like wildfire. She had confessed everything. Her affair partner's wife, Amanda, called me first. No greeting, just fury. Is it true? Yes. Silence. Then, a sharp exhale. Do you have proof? Plenty. Send it. Now. I did. Minutes later, a text. He's out. I kicked him to the curb. Another call. Ethan. I need to see all of it. Every single bit. I've had suspicions for so long, but nothing concrete. Can we meet? I sighed, exhausted. Maybe later, Amanda. Let me get through today. Then the floodgates opened. Her friends, her relatives, her cousins, one after another, cursing me out, calling me a monster, saying I was making the biggest mistake of my life. Are you really throwing away your marriage over one mistake? Her cousin spat. I clenched my jaw. One mistake. She made that mistake for 7 months. That's not a lapse in judgment. It's a choice. A series of choices. But you still love her. I let out a hollow laugh. Whatever love I had died the second I found out. And our family? She destroyed that herself. I'm just trying to salvage what's left. A scoff, an insult, a slammed phone. The third call like that today. But the truth was clear. Dragging this out would only prolong the misery. It was better to rip the bandage off now and start healing. Then the DNA test came back. The kids were mine. 5 months later, the divorce was final. The moment felt quiet, anticlimactic. I wrote my ex-wife her check, split everything down the middle like I'd promised, and just like that, it was done. The kids refused to stay with her. I never poisoned them against her, never said a bad word. It was their decision. "She's just always so sad, Dad," Emily whispered one night. "She doesn't talk much, and when she does, she sounds so tired. She sucks the happiness out of the room." Noah, solemn, nodded. "It's like she wants us to be miserable too." I had no words for that. I never wanted them to resent their mother, but I couldn't force them into a situation that made them unhappy. Lauren, though, she became more of a mother to them than I ever expected. They laugh around her. They tell her their little secrets and worries. At first, guilt twisted in my gut, like I was replacing their mother. But now, I just feel grateful. Seeing my kids happy again, that's all that matters. "You know what, Dad?" Emily said one evening, helping Lauren set the table. She turned to me with a real, genuine smile. "I'm really glad you found her. She makes us all happy." And that meant everything. Lauren and I are getting married in 3 months. The kids are thrilled. And my ex-wife, she's finally in therapy. When I called to wish her luck, she sounded distant, like a voice from a deep well. "The kids don't want to see me," she admitted, voice cracking. "And I get it. I miss them so damn much." Her pain was real, but so were the consequences. This distance, this quiet absence, wasn't my doing. It was the direct result of her choices. Maybe, for the first time, she was beginning to understand that. And maybe, just maybe, this space was the kindest thing she could give them right now.